On June 24, 2010, two men walked onto court 18 at Wimbledon and started a tennis match. They finished 3 days later, 11 hours and 5 minutes of play. 183 games in the final set alone. John Isner hit 113 aces. Nicholas Mahut hit 103. By the end, the scoreboard had stopped working. It was never built to count that high. Now hold that image. Because in that same sport, on that same court, a player returning a serve has less than half a second from the instant the ball leaves the racket to read it, move to it, and hit it back. Sam Groth once served one at 163 miles an hour. So here's the strange thing about tennis. It asks you to run an ultramarathon and win a reflex duel in the same point for hours, and then come back and do it again tomorrow. Most sports ask you to be great at one thing. Tennis asks you to be great at everything, at once, alone. Which raises a genuinely hard question, the kind that starts arguments in every sports bar on earth. Who is the best athlete in sport? Not the strongest, not the fastest, the best, the most complete. And there's a serious case that the answer isn't a boxer, or a running back, or a striker. It's the person standing alone on a tennis court. Let me show you why. To understand the argument, you have to see how we normally define a great athlete. Because for most of sporting history, greatness has meant one word: specialization. The 100-meter sprinter is the fastest human alive for about 10 seconds. The marathon runner has a bottomless engine, but ask him to sprint and cut and change direction, and he falls apart. The powerlifter is impossibly strong in a straight line. The lineman is a wall of force for a 5-second collision, then he walks back to the huddle and rests. Every one of them is a genius at a single physical trait, and the whole system is built to let them stay that way. Substitutions, timeouts, off-seasons, teammates to cover the gaps. A lineman never has to be a marathoner. A sprinter never has to think clearly while exhausted. They get to be the best in the world at one thing and never be tested on the rest. Tennis quietly refuses to offer that deal. And once you see what it demands instead, the specialists start to look a little narrow. In a single match, a professional covers somewhere between 1.5 and 3 miles, and in a long 5-setter, closer to 5. But distance is the wrong way to picture it, because they're not jogging. In 1 hour of singles, a player makes between 300 and 500 changes of direction. Stop, explode, stop, reverse. That's a sprinter's workload, repeated for the length of a marathon runner's afternoon. 400 to 700 calories an hour, burned in bursts, not in a steady drip. Now layer power on top. The serve, the fastest ones cross 160 miles an hour, is one of the most violent movements in all of sport. A full-body uncoiling of legs, hips, torso, and shoulder. And a top player might do it 150 times in an afternoon, then immediately sprint to chase the reply. Then layer speed of mind. When that serve comes back at you, physics gives you under half a second to react. That's faster than a blink is deliberate. There's no time to think, the body has to have already decided. The best returners in the world aren't watching the ball. They're reading a shoulder, a ball toss, the tilt of a hip, and guessing right, again and again and again.
Endurance.
Power, agility, reaction. Most sports test 1, maybe 2. Tennis stacks all 4 into a single point, and then asks for that point 400 times in a match. You can't sub off. You can't coast a possession. Every ball is yours. There's a reason the sport leaves marks on the body itself.
A skeleton, quietly rebuilt to survive the workload.
The bones in her racket arm are 20% thicker and contain more bone mineral than her other arm. That the differences in tennis players are about 10 times greater than in non-players.
But the physical blend, as brutal as it is, isn't even the hardest part. Because tennis takes away the one thing every other athlete leans on: people. There is no bench, no substitution, no teammate to hide behind on a bad day. For most of the sport's history, there was no coaching either. A player could be falling apart on court, and the person who trained them had to sit in the stands, silent, forbidden from saying a single word. You are alone on an island the size of a tennis court, and everyone is watching you solve it in real time. And you have to solve it for a very, very long time. On January 29, 2012, Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal played the final of the Australian Open. It lasted 5 hours and 53 minutes, the longest Grand Slam final ever played. They finished at 1:37 in the morning. At the trophy ceremony, organizers brought out chairs because neither man could physically stand. That's the physical toll. The mental toll is heavier. Nearly 6 hours of holding your nerve, with no one to share it, no clock to run out, and no lead that is ever truly safe. Ask the greatest returner of his generation where that kind of mind comes from, and he'll correct you before you even finish the question.
I have to correct you, it's not a gift. It's something that comes with work.
11 months a year, that's the job. Not a season with a finish line in sight, an almost endless tour, city to city, mostly alone, where the body never fully heals and the pressure never fully lifts. Endurance, power, speed, and nerve is one thing. Doing all of it solo, for hours, for most of the year, that's a different category of hard. So is it actually true? Is this the best athlete in sport? For once, somebody tried to measure it. Years ago, ESPN assembled a panel of sports scientists and asked a deceptively simple question: rank every sport by how hard it is to play. They scored 60 of them across 10 separate attributes: endurance, strength, power, speed, agility, flexibility, nerve, durability, hand-eye coordination, and pure analytic aptitude. Not popularity, difficulty. Tennis came in 7th, which at a glance sounds like a loss, until you look at the 6 sports ranked above it: boxing, ice hockey, football, basketball, wrestling, mixed martial arts. Every single one is a collision sport. Every one is built on physically hitting, tackling, or fighting another human being. Tennis is the highest-rated sport on that entire list, where you never once touch your opponent. It climbed into the top 7 on athleticism alone. No contact, no collision, nowhere to hide. Take away the fighting, and by that panel's own math, tennis is the hardest athletic act in sport. And that's exactly why the modern game looks the way it does. Watch Carlos Alcaraz or Jannik Sinner for a single set, and you're watching the full stack in one body: a sprinter's first step, a heavyweight's serve, a chess player's patience, all wrapped inside a 5-hour engine. They aren't great at one thing. The sport stopped rewarding that a long time ago. You survive at the top now by being elite at all of it, or you don't survive at all. So maybe who's the best athlete is the wrong question. Maybe the real one is quieter and harder. Every other sport lets you be a genius at one thing and calls it greatness. Tennis is the only one that looks at you alone on that island and says, be great at everything or go home. Whether that makes tennis players the best athletes in the world, I'll let you decide. But it might make theirs the most honest test we've ever built. Let me know where you land in the comments. And if you're new here, subscribe. This is Smart Tennis.